When Caitlin Clark stepped up to the podium and took the mic, the room fell quiet, but no one was ready for what came next. She wasn't just there as a record-breaking WNBA star. She was there to shatter something even bigger, the long-standing silence around women's sports. And with just a few powerful words, she lit a spark that had been waiting far too long to ignite.
That's not something that's up for negotiations anymore. It's like you must have that if you want a franchise.
What began as a standard awards night quickly turned into a defining moment not just for the WNBA, but for sports as a whole. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto that stage to accept her Rookie of the Year award, no one expected her to spark a movement. But the words she shared didn't just earn a standing ovation. They struck a nerve, inspiring athletes, executives, and fans alike and leaving more than a few in tears. This wasn't just a speech. It was a wake-up call, a bold challenge to everything we thought we knew about what it means to succeed in sports and how that success can be used to make real change. The setting made it all the more powerful, a sold-out venue in New York City, packed with legends of the game, media giants, and major sponsors, all gathered to honor what many called the most groundbreaking season the WNBA had ever seen.
Valley North Swimming and Diving.
When Caitlin Clark took the stage, it wasn't just about honoring one athlete's incredible season, it marked the dawn of a new era in women's pro sports. Her rookie year in 2024 didn't just meet the hype, it blew it out of the water. Clark put up jaw-dropping numbers, averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. Even more impressive, she led the Indiana Fever back to the playoffs for the first time in nearly a decade, but the stats only tell part of the story. She set a new rookie record with 337 assists, nailed 120 three-pointers, also a rookie high, and made history as the first ever rookie to notch a triple-double in the WNBA. Clark wasn't just playing the game, she was changing it.
Finish as Melissa Smith went to the line and did in fact complete the three.
Caitlin Clark's influence wasn't limited to highlight reels, it reshaped the business of women's sports entirely. Her games routinely pulled in over 1 million TV viewers, while arenas across the league sold out night after night. The Indiana Fever saw a staggering 400% spike in season ticket sales, forcing a major move from smaller venues to the NBA-sized home of the Indiana Pacers. It wasn't just impressive, it was historic. No one had ever sparked a financial surge like this in women's pro sports. The crowd that evening reflected just how far her impact reached. WNBA legends like Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, and Maya Moore sat alongside current stars like Aja Wilson and Breanna Stewart, corporate leaders, media heavyweights, and wide-eyed young fans, many of whom had grown up watching Clark, filled every remaining seat. This wasn't just an award ceremony, it was a celebration of a movement.
So it was kind of like a new season, a new change, but everyone just adapted.
The audience that night wasn't just large, it was united. From basketball legends to young fans, media giants to corporate leaders, the room reflected the powerful coalition that Caitlin Clark's rise had inspired across the world of women's sports. It raised an important question: what prepared her for a moment this big? Many pointed to her time at Iowa, where she became a household name and learned to navigate the spotlight with poise and confidence. Facing relentless media attention in college may have been the perfect training ground for the stage she now stood on. And when she spoke, it was clear this wasn't just another acceptance speech. Clark didn't start by talking about her own stats or stardom. Instead, she honored the trailblazers, the women who came before her, fought for visibility, and made her success possible. With just a few heartfelt words, she had every ear in the room tuned in. Clark didn't shy away from the tough truths. She paid tribute to the WNBA pioneers, women who played in half-empty gyms for modest paychecks while juggling other jobs, the very athletes who laid the groundwork for the league's growth. Thanks to their sacrifices, Clark could enjoy the spotlight, the salary, and the stage she stood on. The heart of her speech was one powerful themed responsibility. She spoke of her duty to use her platform with purpose, not just for herself, but for the future of the game. And then she turned the spotlight outward. Clark challenged everyone in that room, league officials, brand sponsors, media voices, and fans to stay invested, to keep pushing for visibility, support, and respect for women's basketball, even when the headlines no longer revolve around her. With a voice full of emotion and a message packed with purpose, she didn't just thank the crowd, she called them to action.
It was really fun, and Taylor's obviously amazing, and I think just
as Clark laid out real, actionable steps to keep women's sports on the rise, she didn't hold back. She called on media outlets to provide consistent coverage, not just during playoff runs or viral moments, but all season long. The message hit hard, not just because of what she said, but because of who was saying it. This was coming from an athlete whose very presence had redefined the business of the game. Her words were thoughtful, her delivery powerful. As she shifted to thank her teammates and coaches for helping her adjust to life in the pros, a quiet ripple of applause began. And when she turned to honor her opponents, the fierce competitors who challenged her and raised the level of play, that ripple swelled into a standing ovation. It wasn't just respect, it was recognition that Clark's message, like her game, had moved the entire sport forward.
She's just a very kind, caring person, and you can really feel that.
But the moment that truly brought the entire room to its feet came when Clark moved beyond basketball. Her speech took a powerful turn towards social impact, and suddenly, it wasn't just about sports anymore. Legal analysts have noted how today's athletes are using their platforms to speak out on bigger issues, pushing for change far beyond the court. Clark joined that growing wave of athlete activism, using her voice to spotlight the deep inequalities still present in the sports world. Her message on equality hit home. She spoke candidly about growing up watching women's basketball, dreaming of going pro, yet knowing deep down that the media coverage and financial support given to male athletes far outpaced anything women received. Her honesty was raw, her voice steady, and the truth in her words echoed through every corner of the auditorium. This was more than a speech, it was a call for lasting change, delivered by someone who had already become a force for it. Clark's personal story became much more than a highlight reel. It turned into a powerful statement on gender equity and the need to build real opportunities for the next generation. Standing in front of the brightest minds and biggest names in sports, she used her moment to speak directly to young girls in the crowd and those watching from home. She urged them to chase their dreams on the court without hesitation, but also reminded them of the value of education and the strength in building skills beyond sports. Her message was clear: success isn't limited to one lane, and the future belongs to those bold enough to believe in themselves and prepared enough to lead when their moment comes.
It's incredible!
A new WNBA single game record.
Clark's message blended inspiration with realism. She acknowledged the uphill battles female athletes still face, but expressed genuine hope for a brighter future. One standout moment was her reflection on team dynamics, how veterans who once saw her as a threat eventually became supporters, recognizing that her success was lifting the entire league. She also gave heartfelt thanks to the fans, especially those discovering women's basketball for the first time. Their support, she said, wasn't just appreciated, it was transformative. Clark emphasized that keeping fans engaged would take more than just star power. It would require consistent excellence from players and a commitment to making the game fun and accessible for everyone. She thanked corporate partners for stepping up their investment in women's basketball, but also challenged them, stay committed even when the spotlight dims or the buzz fades. True growth, she reminded them, depends on long-term support, not just during the highs. Clark's words held extra weight because her influence had already transformed the league, driving record revenue, media attention, and fan engagement. Yet instead of centering herself, she spoke about shared responsibility. It makes you wonder what guidance she may have received from veterans, coaches, or mentors leading up to that night, advice that helped shape her focus on lifting others rather than just celebrating her own success. Her message revealed a deep awareness of her place in the story of women's basketball and the responsibility that comes with it. The emotional peak of her speech came when she spoke about her grandfather, who inspired her not just to win, but to use her success to help others reach their own dreams. That moment hit home for many in the audience who knew the sacrifices and family support behind every athlete's journey. She ended with a powerful challenge to the media: cover women's basketball fully, not just when the spotlight is on her. The crowd's response said it all. Her message had landed exactly where it needed to.
Caitlin hit it!
Clark called for broader coverage not just of her own games, but of the league's rising stars, rich storylines, and the business growth, proving women's sports are a smart investment. She also spoke out for more opportunities for women in leadership, urging greater representation of female coaches and executives at both the college and pro levels. Her message was clear: real change happens when women have a seat at every table. Looking beyond the US, Clark acknowledged the global rise of women's basketball. She highlighted the value of international competition and the role American players can play in growing the game worldwide by both learning from and contributing to developing programs across the globe. The standing standing ovation hit its highest point as Clark closed with a message that summed up the heart of her speech: individual success means little without collective progress. She made it clear that her rookie year milestones would only truly matter if they helped drive lasting, meaningful change for women's basketball and women's sports as a whole. Her final words were a challenge to everyone in the room: keep showing up, keep pushing for growth, equality, and investment, not just during record-breaking seasons or viral moments, but in the quiet stretches when the spotlight fades. That's when real change takes root.